previously discussed, because I started going over this, the square root of 49 is positive 7 and negative 7. So this would mean that my two roots, it would look like this, right? I would go 7, negative 7, positive 7, and I would have a u that looked like that. Okay, that's what it's saying. So that's my paral. Okay, this one, when we square root a negative number, so the square root of 121, Caleb, is what again? 11. But 11 times 11, does that equal negative 121?
No, so it would be negative.
No. Okay, let's try negative 11. Negative 11 times negative 11 equals 121. That doesn't work.
Negative 11 times
11
positive.
times-
I can't take a square root of something and it be two different answers.
Oh,
11
yeah.
times negative.
That's what Caleb just asked.
Oh.
So apparently that's a thing we're going to do today. All right. 11 times negative 11 is negative 121. But when we square root something, the numbers have to be exactly the same. So if I square root negative 121, there are no two numbers that are exactly the same that have exactly the same signs.
So no solution.
Okay? So this has no real solutions because I want to talk to you guys. You'll learn it in Algebra 2. When we have a negative number, the negative square root of negative 1 does equal I. So in this case, we would have 11I, positive 11 or negative 11I. This is something you do not need to write down. You will learn it in Algebra 2, but don't put no solutions. It's no real solution. This is an imaginary number. Yes?
So anytime we do one of these equations, we should have the negative and the positive, like x
Yes.
equals 7 and x equals
Yes.
times 7.
Correct. Okay, why don't you guys try A and B under try it? Try A and B. Yeah, there. No, you can have one when you're done because you know if you go while I'm going over notes, you're going to come back and want me to reteach you everything you missed, and I don't have time for that. No. All right, what did we get, guys? We square rooted both sides.
13 and negative 13. And then b is no real solution.
So x equals 13 and negative 13. Good. And b has no real solutions. Okay. Let's move on to if we have a number in front of x squared.
Wait, so if it's always negative, it'll always be no real solution.
Okay. So, except Caleb, if we divide by negative and then it goes away. So, I'm going to show you an exception to what I just said to you in just 1 minute.
Number A.
Letter A was 13 and negative 13.
Number 1.
Yeah, number 1, letter A. Okay. So, first, we're going to divide by 7. The 7's go away and I get x squared equals 16. And then I'm going to square root both sides. Am I going too fast? When you know, yell it out. What is x equal?
4 and negative 4.
Thank you. Okay. So Caleb, when I see this, I might think, hey, this has no real solution. But remember, I have to divide by a negative number first.
Which will turn into.
So I get x squared equals 8. And then I'm going to square root both sides. What's the biggest number that goes into 8? 4. And what's the square root of 4? 2. So it's plus or minus 2 square root 2.
What is that number?
What is this?
Yeah.
That's a plus or minus sign, so I don't have to write it twice. I could write x equals 2 square root 2 and x equals negative 2 square root 2. But you know what's quicker? Putting that plus and minus sign in.
Where did you get the 2?
The square root of 8 is 4 times 2, right? So the square root of 4 is 2. Is that better? Because the square root of 4 is 2, so I get 2 with square root 2 left over.
Wait.
This is what we did for homework Monday night.
So then it's
All right, let's turn it over. Now you've got 2 to try, so try A and B under number 2.
we're gonna have to do story time.
Yep.
There's store problems? Oh, no.
Go then. Go. If you write it, I will sign it like I do every single day.
So like on a test, could we put plus negative sign, like the plus sign on a test?
Okay. Okay. Remember, if you want to stand up in your seat or something because you've been sitting all day long, feel free to.
Is this what you're getting so far?
One more minute.
Nine. So it's not a perfect square, so I did 8 times 9, which is the biggest one. I think I got
There's a bigger one. This was on your homework. Look at your homework from last night. There's a bigger one. That's a good start. All right, I'm gonna do A. First, you did what? Divide by 5. Then I get x squared equals 25. I take the square root of 25, and what does x equal?
5 and negative
5 and negative 5. Okay? B, what do I do?
Divide by 1/2.
You can divide by 1/2, or remember, you can. That's the same thing as timesing by negative 2. So I get x squared equals 72. Then what do I do?
Square it.
Square root it. So I get x equals the square root of 72, and what 2 numbers multiply to give us 72? 36 and 2.
What?
And what's the square root of 36?
6.
So x equals plus or minus 6 square root 2. Don't forget the plus and minus.
Whoa. So x equals. Oh, plus and
Why'd you
negative.
flip?
It's the same thing as dividing by it.
Okay.
So that's the way I was taught when you say fraction is you're supposed to do it that way. So I want you guys to see both ways.
So if you're timesing something by 2, would you always just leave the 2 with always square root? Because that's what I.
Yes, because 2 does not have a perfect square.
Okay.
Okay. You ready? Questions about those before I move on? Okay. Let's start. What do I do here?
Add 5.
Add 5 first. First I add 5. Then I get 3x squared equals 27. Then what do I do?
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3. Then what do I do?
You get 7.
Wait. 3 goes into 27 how many times?
9.
9. And then what is the square root of 9?
3.
3 or? Okay. So let's do a couple. Yeah, this is for you to try. Try A and B. excited that clocks work. It's the little things. Seriously?
Pardon for the interruption. Attention all staff. At this time, could you please dismiss the girls' JV tennis team and the girls' varsity softball team to meet their boss at the West End School doors? Once again, please dismiss the girls' JV tennis team and the girls' varsity softball team to meet their boss at the West End School doors. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So the first thing we're gonna do is add 19 to both sides. So negative 5x squared equals 163. I'm gonna divide it by a negative 5, but then it makes it negative, so no real solutions. Okay. Next, I'm gonna subtract 17 from both sides. And I get 3x squared equals 64. Divide by 3. Oh, this is 192. Sorry, guys.
I was gonna say something wrong.
192. I skipped a step. Ugh. Divide by 3. X squared equals 64. There we go. Square root both sides, and you get x equals 8 and negative 8. Okay. You ready? We're going to try strip. It'll be fun. Okay. So, who remembers Pythagorean theorem? Yeah? Okay, so just real quick review. A, B, C. It has to be right angle. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay? That's your pre-knowledge that you need. That's a B, by the way.
So like this on the thing, PSAT, but then it was like C squared equals A squared plus B squared.
Okay, so we want to know how big these distances are. Well, we know that x squared plus x squared equals 200 squared. Yeah. So Pythagorean theorem. Yeah, it's a right triangle. So we get 2x squared equals 200 squared is 40,000. Now we're going to divide it by 2.
What? It's a lot of 2s.
So x squared is going to equal 20,000. Okay, and let's talk about this. Are we going to want to simplify the square root of 20,000? Or are we going to want to put it in our calculator and just come up with a decimal approximation? Now think about this. A cell phone tower has a guy wire for support. Do we need the exact, or is it going to be more helpful to know approximately, like finding a decimal place?
Funding them.
I think finding a decimal place too. So I'm going to square root both sides. So x equals,
141.421.
let's leave it at 141.42. But that's positive or negative, right? Does it make sense to have a negative length?
No.
No. So in this case, I could cancel out the negative. And that's 141.42 what?
Feet.
Feet.
Oh.
I want to know if it's inches or meters or whatever. Okay?
Ducks.
Yes. I did 200 squared. So, Caleb, you asked the exact same question sometimes. So I don't know what that little fit was about. What was that little fit about? Was that about Grace or about something else?
No.
Because that's what I interpreted that as.
Because
Because she asked the
What did I
question and
say?
you went, ugh, like she had made this horrible question.
No,
What
I
was
was
the about?
no, because so I was talking to Coy, right, and I was like, you were like, what? Something about what does it do, and I was like, your mom. So I was like,
Oh my god.
That's the worst joke ever. Okay. Glad we cleared that up. That you weren't upset about Grace's question.
I didn't
Okay.
know what she said.
Alright.
I didn't
So-
even know what she said.
We need to find the distance from the base of the wire to the midpoint. So we need to find the distance from the base of the wire to the midpoint. Yeah. Right. This is a dumb question. Okay, it's 100. I don't know why they asked you that question.
No, it's
They want to know this distance, right? They want to know what z is.
but it's the same because it's an equal line.
It's the same because it is an equilateral triangle.
That
So
was
did you
easy.
hear all the stuff that Grace said?
Yeah, it's equal.
Yes, you're right. It is a isosceles.
And those two sides are
And those two sides.
That was easy.
Yeah,
So
I
where
wasn't
do it-
paying attention. I'm sorry. Where did you get the 100 from?
Because it's the midpoint, so it's halfway.
Oh, yeah.
So it's 100. And so z right here would have to be the same because it would have to be isosceles. Yeah. Or if we know that this bottom part right here is 141.42, then we could say 141.42 squared equals z squared plus z squared, or z squared plus 100 squared, because we know it has to be 100. And then we could solve to find it. I still get 100. So, we're good. Okay, homework is page 380, 23 through 38.
I have a question.
Yes, about the homework.
Yes.
Why don't you just give it to me and we'll do it together.
Number 31.
Number 31, which says what?
3. No, I'm so sorry. It's not 3 at all.
Okay.
Negative x squared equals 0.
No. It's 31 is
Oh, that's
0.1
30. Yeah,
0.1
x
squared. I'm talking, Caleb. Equals 100.
I don't care who talks, they just need one person. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is do what?
Divide.
Pull that up a bit.
Divide both sides by 0.1.
Yeah, and I got like 1,000.
So x squared equals 1,000.
1,000.
I
You
got
put
1,000.
100
100
divided by.
divided by 0.1.
Yeah.
I got 1,000.
Yeah.
And then there's no square root.
So we'll simplify it. Square root. What's the biggest number? Let's just guess. I know 100 goes in there, right? How many times does 100 go in there? 10 times. Okay.
Yeah.
So we get the square root of 100 times 10. What's the square root of 100?
10. Okay.
Remember, it's plus or minus.
My brain kind of skipped over the aspect of simplifying it.
Okay. So the whole, when you divide 100 by 0.1, it means like how many 10 cents fit into 100? Well, 1,000 do, right? So I know that like confused some people, but that's why that's there. Okay, so this is number 31 from your homework, so I would write it down because you have to do one last homework assignment.